And then that puts us in a position where we start to say things that we don't mean to the people that we love. Or we start being more sacrificial with the things that put us in good positions.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up? What is going on? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. And the reason I want to have these types of conversations is because they don't come up on a daily basis. And for people that are out there kind of having these types of thoughts or in these types of positions, kind of feel alone or feel like nobody could really understand their problems. And what I want to do is try and alleviate some of that suffering in silence and let you know that no matter what it is that you're going through and where your life's at, life can and will get better. You just got to put in the work. And so what I wanted to chat about today is basically being able to catch yourself on the way down. In one of my last episodes, I kind of talked a little bit about going through these dark times, going through these tough times. And what I wanted to chat about today is being able to catch yourself on the way down. And so to do this, or to be able to do this, you kind of have to be reflective. And whether that means you kind of journal your thoughts, or you write them down in your phone, or you do what I do, which is talk to your phone like this and then listen to it hours on end trying to, find the best clips to edit for Instagram. I guess you need to be reflective in the sense that you have to take a look at yourself on a daily basis and see what behaviors and habits you have and find out the things that are serving you as opposed to the things that you are serving. Right? The things that serve your life in terms of make your life better or easier or, I guess, less, strenuous to overcome adversity. Does that make sense? Or take a look at the habits or behaviors that you have in your life that you are serving, whether that be a crutch or a bad coping mechanism or an addiction, whatever it could be. Those are things that you have to serve in order to have them continue to kind of be in your life. Whereas there's a lot of times where we have habits or behaviors that are serving us. And so examples of that would be being active all the time. It could be seen as you having to serve those workouts, or you could look at it in the sense that being active all the time on a daily basis is going to serve you. There's a purpose to it. And so a lot of the times, I am pretty partial to journaling. I think everyone should be journaling, and I think that if you're not right now, you should kind of learn how to, or at least get a journal so you can start doing these things. But I find journaling, and I guess even having heart-to-heart conversations with your friends, your family, your loved ones, these are ways that you can be reflective because you can start to notice the things that you do on a daily basis. Because, in a perfect world, in a utopia, we want to be able to catch ourselves before we get to these dark times. And a lot of the times we have these stages in our life where we're extremely happy and comfortable and we're stoked that we're in the certain positions that we're in. And then we stop putting in the work that got us to those places. And then, 3, 4, 6 months or a year down the road, we start to wonder, how the fuck did I get here? Things were going so good. And that's how you hit those dark times. And so what I'm trying to talk about is the ability to catch yourself on the way down, so that you don't have to hit a rock bottom to start to improve again. You can catch yourself on that downward swing and use it as momentum to shoot back up and make your plateau even higher than it was in the past. You're breaking through those plateaus or quote unquote glass ceilings or whatever you want to say, however you want to explain it. And so being able to catch yourself in these dark times, you want to start to look at the irregularities in your life, or maybe the old habits that you've let come back. Maybe you're someone like me who had to cut out a lot of drinking and partying in my late teenage years and early 20s to get to the point where I'm at right now. And when I start to notice that I'm feeling a little bit more depressed or anxious or down on myself, well, it's because I've been slipping on the behaviors that have put me in the position where I feel happy, and I start to do some of the old behaviors or some of the old coping mechanisms or spend time with people that I haven't spent time with in a long time. And those things have to remind me that, those are activities I shouldn't be doing, or taking part in, hobbies or pastimes that I shouldn't be, or maybe just doing behaviors that don't really align with who I truly am and who I want to be. This could be thought patterns or processes or things that you say, conversations that you have. You might have somebody from your past that you used to bicker and argue with all the time, and every time you guys communicate with each other, you leave feeling on a negative note, and then you go home and you need to unwind, and there's all these things you have to do to de-stress, and maybe you pick up a bad coping mechanism, and then this process has already started. The ball is already rolling. Now, if you're journaling, if you're reflective, if you meditate, or even if you just stare at the fucking mirror for long enough, you start to think about these things that you do on a daily basis. And you start to make these patterns and connections. Well, maybe I shouldn't be fucking hanging out with that person, because when I hang out with them, it takes me 3 hours to unwind after. And then you have to go through the fact that, why do you behave when you see that person? What inner demons are you still battling, or what voids do you have in your life? And that process is going to look completely different for everybody. But what I'm trying to say is, without being reflective on these things, we're never going to be able to catch ourselves on the way down. And then that puts us in a position where we start to say things that we don't mean to the people that we love. Or we start being more sacrificial with the things that put us in good positions. And so if we're able to catch ourselves on the way down, if we're able to be a little bit more reflective, we don't have to get to those dark times. We can notice the things that put us in these dark times creep into our life, because they never happen. It's never just a one quick day where you just transition from good to bad. It's always a 1% incremental change. And if you can feel the water boiling, so to speak, and what I'm saying right there is, if you feel it go from, 1% more, 1% more, 1% more, and the water, the temperature, and I'm using this figuratively right now if you can't realize that, the temperature is going up gradually. It never goes from 0 to 100. It goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 until it goes to 100, and then all of a sudden you're in fucking deep boiling water. You're being cooked. You're being fried maybe if it gets hot enough. And so what I'm trying to drill home is the idea of actually catching these incremental changes in your lives so that you can start to learn from them before they become catastrophic problems. And then you can start to catapult yourself into a new high, a new, a plateau that seems higher than the last. And this is something that I'm still mastering, and I still have to remind myself to journal, and sometimes I forget to for a couple days or a couple weeks even. And those are the times that I notice myself starting to have a downward spiral, is the times where I lose track of this reflectiveness. And so if I had to summarize this episode again, you know what, this is going to be a pretty quick episode because I feel like I've drilled it home already. But the point of this episode is to remind you to just be a little bit more reflective and to catch yourself on the way down. If you have any perspectives on this, please do share them with me. My Instagram is in the show notes below if you listen to the podcast version of this. If you're watching the YouTube version, you'll see it down below at the bottom of the screen down here. I'll put the spelling for my weird last name, but it's at Mark D. Henriksen. And yeah, if you have a perspective on what I just talked about, being able to catch yourself on the way down, or even the episode where I talked about going through tough times, feel free to reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, and also feel free to send in your clips for Hey Mark as well, so you can send in a video clip of yourself asking a question or just making a small little humble brag about some victory that you might have had recently in your life. And I'll try and give you my 2 cents and my perspective if you value that, if you want to hear that, and you want to be on the show. So that is all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for all the people that share the show, that spread the love. And that's all I got going for you guys today. It's just a quick little episode to remind you, once again, to be reflective and catch yourself on the way down. That's all I got. Thank you so much for tuning in. Much love and peace out. Let's go, motherfuckers.